Welcome to another episode of Going Homesteady. I'm really glad that you're here and really glad that I'm here. Not too long ago, we did a episode or two from our main home, but I like to do it here because I like to be here and I like to share the blessing that is this place. Well, for today's episode, I wanted to talk a little bit about our temptation to be, in a sense, too easily satisfied. That's an expression I heard from C.S. Lewis, who said about us, not that we're too picky, but that we're too easily satisfied. We're content with paltry little pleasures when we should not be content until we're near and beholding the glory of God. Well, in terms of human relationships, we have something of the same problem. We live in a world today where the internet and smartphones and computers, and even before that, the telephone, gave us the opportunity to interact with people apart from being face to face. And we have, as a blessing and a benefit from that, the ability to interact with people uh, more than one at a time and from a great distance. Just earlier today, I was uh, on a Zoom call, which I do every week, where I have a friend that I meet with over Zoom, and I do some teaching. I teach on theology and biblical interpretation and apologetics and those kinds of things, and we talk through the Zoom. I have the blessing of seeing the same student about 4 times a year. So I get the blessing of face to face sometimes. And again, it is a blessing that I have something rather than nothing. But that's not the same thing as a real, close, personal, one on one, face to face relationship. And we need to really be hungering and thirsting for those things. When we talk about going homesteady, when we talk about living more distinct lives and more intentional lives, where we're thinking through the choices that we're making, we're saying, look, yes, I gain something by being able to communicate in this way, but I lose something also. I remember thinking about ministry itself, and think about it in the context of the local church, that churches so often in our day, they grow so big, and there are advantages to big churches, make no mistake about it, but they grow so big that people don't even know each other. Oftentimes the pastors don't even know who their congregants are. People, in fact, I've heard it, I've actually heard people say, the thing I love about my church is you can just show up and be there for the worship and the preaching, and you can leave and nobody bothers you. Oh my stars. I mean, at least that's in the same room. How many other people are doing the same thing by tuning in to their favorite preacher on some social media site? No, the Church of Christ, friends, is the body of Christ. We are to be embodied. We're to live in our bodies and as the body of Christ, and we are to come together. We're not to forsake the gathering together of the saints. So when we're satisfied with that cyber relationship, we're missing out on so much. We're missing out, in one way, in our communication. I don't know how they would measure such a thing. I don't know who said it. But I've heard something like communication is 90% nonverbal or 50% non, whatever it is, it's a big percent. That is, that if you just take the ideas and you reduce them down to letters and put them on a page, you have lost emphasis and nuance and tone and all these other things that communicate along with the actual words. And even with audio communication, even with you miss out on the visual cues that come along, the body language and those kinds of things. And then even when you have that on Zoom, you still miss out on context and touch. Let's think about it in the context of education. Several years ago, we had this pandemic, and we had many states deciding that the safest thing, the best thing to do, is to have kids stay home from school. And yet, we want, by the way, or if they do go to school, to wear the mask. What happened when people wore the mask in school? Young kids, especially, lost out on the ability to learn, to hear by watching, and to learn and to grow in their ability to speak and to hear and to communicate because faces were covered. But even worse, when everybody goes online to do schooling, we lost immeasurable capacities for genuine learning. Because learning, friends, is not merely taking abstract idea X and removing it from the brain of the teacher and downloading into the brain of the student. This is one of the reasons why I believe that when God Himself instructed His people on how to teach and to educate their children, He told them to speak of these things. These things are the important things, the handing down of cultural, theological bedrock ideology, handing these things down by talking with our children when you lie down and when you rise up. What does that mean, when you lie down and when you rise up? Well, it in some sense means when you lie down and when you get up. But what it's not saying is that, but if you're standing, don't do it. Or if you're sitting, don't do it. The idea is that everybody gets up and everybody lies down. And the teaching that we do, we're called to do in the context of, in the warp and woof of our regular lives. We've already lost something, even if we're meeting in the same building, even if we're meeting in the same room, when we've left the rest of the world and gone into this special room with these special apparatus and have this special hired person telling us these special things that were decided by the special curriculum experts. You've lost something compared to a parent teaching a child. When a parent teaches a child in conversation, in the context of life, they're able to learn things about, for instance, right and wrong in the context of what's been going on in their lives. Not too long ago, this happens all the time. We have conversations with our kids because we're with them. We're in the homeschool with them. And I'll say a simple thing. Hey, guys, the other day I said to them, boys, I don't want you to be all scared and frightened and up in arms about I have to get 100% every time on every test. I also, however, don't want you to be careless. I don't want you to be lazy. I'm afraid that you guys, because you don't have this fear of this teacher or dad getting really mad or mom getting really mad, that you feel comfortable not doing so well. Well, you need to be motivating yourself. You need to be learning as you get older that you're the one who has to desire to do well. See, right there in the context of our living room, we're having a conversation which works in terms of discipleship, which works in terms of education because we can, because we're face to face. And in fact, pretty much any time, maybe not that time because it was such a gentle rebuke, but pretty much any time the boys need some kind of rebuke, how does it end? With a hug. We hug one another. And what is it? This communicates something that can't be communicated through the internet. You can't hug someone through the internet. So, what am I suggesting that you do? Well, again, I'm not saying you can't FaceTime with great Aunt Susie, who lives up in Alaska. By all means, go ahead and do so. Feel free. That's a wonderful thing. But Don't be satisfied with that. Don't lose flesh and blood nearby friends and relationships because you're spending all your time on cyber relationships with people far away. And honestly, do make an effort to travel if that's what it takes to see those who are farther away, to spend time with them, to have the holidays together. These kinds of face to face interactions are the things that make us grow closer together. Imagine if you were a husband and a wife, if all you saw each other on was on Facebook and you said, "Oh, I really love you. I really love you." But you had no back and forth, no sense of touch, no sense of full communication. We all need that. And we need that in many, many relationships with our children, with our parents, with our spouses, with our grandkids, with our neighbors, with our friends. Wouldn't it be nice if you knew your neighbors well enough that just seeing them, maybe you're leaving your home on your way to run some errand and there's your neighbor working in their yard, but because you know them, it's a blessing, it's a gift, it's a happy thing. Well, that's only going to happen if you go and talk with them. Now, years ago, I had a friend who bought a great big piece of property and sold it off in parcels to his friends, like minded friends that wanted to be more homesteady, that were homeschooling, that had the same theological sort of perspective on things. And he sold those pieces and they all joined together. And the first time I went to visit this sort of enclave, uh, I was getting conversations where people wanted me to help because they were having a big problem. They were arguing with each other over this and over that. But the arguments were happening online. People who are literally 200 yards away from each other, who upturned their lives so they would be 200 yards away from each other, are communicating over the internet. And that's what I said to him. I said, wait a minute. This is completely opposed to what this whole thing is. What in the world are you doing? If you got a problem with your neighbor, don't post a 10-part sermon on why they're out of line. Go knock on the door and tell them and talk to them. It makes all the difference. The reason we have all the angst and the drama online because it's so much easier to be ugly and mean and judgy when we're not face to face. Now, we hope to be face to face with you at some point. We hope that our paths cross face to face. In the meantime, we would love to grow with you in this journey of organic living, organic, thoughtful, intentional living. One of the ways we're asking you to help, we've done it before, we'll do it again. We're asking you to help simply by subscribing. The number of subscribers that we have increases the ability we have to reach other people. We're asking you to like this particular episode and other episodes that you have seen or will see. We're asking you to share it. Go on your social media. Again, you can't, or by the way, tell your friend face to face, hey, I've been watching this new episode or this new series on YouTube. It's called Going Home Steady. Check it out. Tell them face to face or put it on your social media. One way or the other, let other people know about this journey that we're all on together. Ask them to tune in, ask them to share and to like. Now, in the meantime, again, I said, I hope our paths cross. If they do, please come and say hello. Give us a handshake. Let us have a hug. Let us learn and meet one another. Let's enjoy the opportunity to be face to face with our friends. Let's make the effort to do so. And remember, whether we can see you or not, we want to be your friends. We're trying to help. Please, again, let's have a conversation where we're not arguing with each other, bickering with each other, but where we're actually encouraging each other and teaching and instructing each other. We don't have all the answers, but we want to create a group that works together to find them. Stick with us, and we hope we'll see you next time when we go back and consider again our goal of living organically, of growing homesteady.